But is it really a charity project at all? The Invictus funds were directed towards private jets, 5-star hotels, and transportation for Harry and Meghan.
Harry's heartbreak as the showbiz elite dump the Sussexes.
Reports claim many of the wounded veterans paid their own airfare, covered their own hotel costs, and even chipped in for some of their equipment, while several high-profile figures connected to the event were reportedly enjoying private transportation, luxury accommodations, and top-tier hospitality.
Oh, the Invictus Games, it's great, it does all this. And then, you know, you start looking into it and you're like, hey, what the heck is going on here? You know, those 535 competitors had to pay their own way. They had to pay their own housing for the games. They had to pay for their own equipment. And Harry and Meghan got a really nice vacation out of it with lots of adorational speeches and clapping and crowds gathered for them.
And that's before getting into a financial figure that some reports suggest was never expected to draw this much public attention. Once the full picture comes into view, it becomes easier to understand why so many people are raising difficult questions. The story begins with a petition, because that's the issue putting Prince Harry under intense public pressure right now. According to reports, a petition is picking up support with one clear demand: remove Prince Harry from the Invictus Games.
So it was really odd, but I do think that people are starting to cotton on. Again, when we look at the numbers of corporate sponsors lining up for Birmingham, there really aren't that many, and we don't know who they are. Only 11. Now, Boeing has, I believe, cut ties. I am doing that story for News Nation. It'll come out later today, about how Boeing was the huge sponsor. The contract has ended and they are not re-signing.
Not reorganize the charity, not launch an internal investigation, remove him completely. Supporters of the petition insist they are not criticizing veterans. They say they're speaking out for them. That's a big reason this situation has gained so much attention. At the same time, reports citing a source allegedly connected to Invictus claim the royal family has already made a decision about the Birmingham launch scheduled for next month.
I think that will be the beginning of the end for Meghan as a public figure, because this is a man that she's abandoned. Just awful. It will be shame on you, Meghan.
Reports indicate no senior members of the royal family are expected to attend. Not King Charles, not Prince William, not Princess Catherine. A charity project once celebrated as Harry's most successful achievement and often described as one of his most respected contributions, now appears to be facing criticism from multiple directions. So why is concern growing so quickly? Critics point to the financial records, arguing the numbers create even more questions than expected. The most recent Invictus Games in Vancouver and Whistler reportedly welcomed 543 wounded and recovering service members from 23 countries. On the surface, the mission appears inspiring and deeply meaningful, but the spotlight quickly turned to the reported cost.
$63 million Invictus Games spend into the mainstream media.
$63.2 million. That works out to around $118,000 for each competitor. Now look at other events. The Warrior Games in the United States, which also supports wounded service members through sports, reportedly runs on about $2 million annually. In Germany, a similar competition was reportedly organized for roughly $200,000 with about half the number of participants. That's why critics keep asking one straightforward question. If the goals are so similar, why is there such a massive difference in spending?
Comparison, the US Warrior Games, a similar competition for wounded American service members, runs on roughly $2 million a year. Germany's Invictus-style competition costs about $200,000 and involves half as many participants. The public's taxes footed a portion of the bill.
That's where the controversy really begins. Reports state that public funding played a significant role in supporting the event, including approximately $15 million from the Canadian federal government and another $15 million from British Columbia. However, critics argue the funding structure raises even more concerns, because the money reportedly was not directed straight to the games themselves. Instead, reports claim the funding was funneled through a separate corporation, which then reportedly paid a licensing fee to the British charity that controls the Invictus name.
Some of the key lines from Paula's brand new and really jaw-dropping reporting this week. And of course, she's been very careful because we know how litigious Prince Harry can be. But this is really extraordinary stuff. So Paula reports, the most recent games held in Vancouver and Whistler in February 2025 brought together 543 wounded military veterans from 23 countries. The total cost 63.2 million Canadian, or approximately $118,352 per competitor.
And the amount of that fee? According to reports, that number was removed from public disclosure. As soon as people noticed that missing figure, many began taking a much closer look at the paperwork. And according to critics, that's when a whole new wave of questions started popping up. When the British Foundation later submitted its 2024 financial accounts, reportedly after being granted extra time, observers began reviewing the filings in detail. Reports claim direct grants to veterans organizations fell by roughly 63%, dropping from more than £500,000 to about £200,000 in just 12 months.
I don't think a lot of veterans actually are devastated. The reality is, if you go deeper into Invictus, a lot of veterans are actually more upset, asking where all the money actually goes to.
At the same time, reports suggest foundation income rose by more than 40%. A newly created executive role carrying a six-figure salary reportedly appeared, while cash reserves were said to have grown beyond £2 million. Those numbers quickly became a major talking point, with critics demanding more clarity about where funds are being allocated and how they are being spent. Take a second and look at those figures again.
The foundation's highest paid staff earn between £120,000 and £130,000 above typical UK charity sector norms. Other interesting things of note: legal fees jumped from £45,000 to £155,000 with no explanation given. Deferred income ballooned fourfold from £431,000 to £1.799 million. An American for-profit company called June's LLC, with no description of purpose, received nearly £30,000 in 2023 and nothing in 2024. And the same filing contains two different company registration numbers, one on the cover page, another on the balance sheet.
According to critics analyzing the accounts, the trend stands out immediately. They point to a period in which support reportedly flowing to veterans groups decreased, while operational and administrative expenses appeared to be increasing. That's the comparison that keeps drawing attention. And the scrutiny doesn't stop there. Reports indicate legal expenses climbed from around £45,000 to approximately £155,000 in just 1 year.
Now, of course, Tom Bauer, in his recent book Betrayal, alleged that Invictus funds were directed towards private jets, five-star hotels, and transportation for Harry and Meghan.
Critics argue there has been little public explanation for such a sharp jump. Another issue gaining attention involves an American for-profit company that reportedly received nearly £30,000, while some observers claim the filings offered limited information about what services were provided. Then came a detail that set online conversations on fire. According to reports, the accounts appear to show two different company registration numbers, one listed on the front page and another on the balance sheet. Critics wasted no time highlighting that discrepancy. Think about that for a moment.
A growing scandal involving Prince Harry and his last remaining genuine charity project, the Invictus Games. But is it really a charity project at all?
People began asking how an organization connected to such a well-known cause could reportedly have confusion surrounding something as straightforward as a registration number. Whether it's simply an administrative error or something more significant, it quickly became another major point of debate in an already heated controversy. Meanwhile, the foundation has reportedly stated that 92% of every pound supports charitable activities. At first glance, that sounds like a strong number. But critics argue that charitable activities can cover a broad range of expenses, including event management, venue costs, travel arrangements, accommodations, and production-related spending.
I sense a cover-up. The Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity at the centre of the operation, recently filed its 2024 annual accounts with the UK Charity Commission after a 2-year grace period. The numbers, Paula reports, raised red flags. In 2024, the foundation cut its direct grants to veteran organisations by 63%, from £534,973 to just £200,328. The same year that foundation income rose 41%, a new six-figure executive role was added, and cash reserves grew to £2.3 million.
They say there's a huge difference between running the games and directly helping veterans who may require specialized equipment, accessibility improvements, or other essential support. For many observers, that's where the toughest questions start getting asked, and that's where the spotlight turns directly toward the competitors themselves. Reports have circulated claiming that many wounded and recovering veterans relied on their own funds, personal fundraising efforts, or support networks to help cover expenses such as travel, lodging, and equipment. Critics say that revelation struck a nerve with supporters who believe participants would receive more direct financial assistance.
And how they're playing with the veteran money because they're getting a lot of funding from countries and places to get this, what would typically be veteran support income that then goes to putting on the Invictus Games. Now, again, I'm not trying to be, belittling what the Invictus Games is trying to do, but I am asking the question of, is it really the best use of veteran funding? Why can't Harry get his own funding? Why is he relying on all these countries to do it for?
At the same time, Harry and Meghan have continued facing questions over reports describing luxury travel arrangements, high-end accommodations, and expensive wardrobe choices connected to public appearances. One figure that repeatedly spread across social media claimed Meghan's clothing expenses reached roughly $180,000, although those estimates remain heavily disputed. Critics often compare those reports with the sacrifices some veterans reportedly made simply to take part in the event.
Harry and Meghan came in for 10 minutes for an adoring love shot. And of course, Meghan kissed Harry. And it looked like it was good and full. It wasn't. So I think the public interest is waning. And also in this time of economic disparity, people really want to know where their money is going to. And there are lots of other places that actually support veterans, may give them prosthetics if they need, may build a wheelchair ramp at their home, which is necessary, may do things that really help people as opposed to helping Harry's ego.
One supporter summed up that frustration by saying, "People donate for the men and women who sacrificed for their country, not for someone's designer wardrobe and room service." That reaction helps explain why the petition continues attracting attention and generating conversation. Then there's another incident that keeps resurfacing whenever debate around the games intensifies. In Tom Bauer's book, a wheelchair basketball match between the United States and Nigeria is described in a way that sparked strong discussion. According to the account, some American players reportedly stood up and walked away after the game ended. Supporters quickly responded by emphasizing that not all injuries can be seen.
According to tax returns on file, the public picked up half the tab for Vancouver, with the Canadian federal government contributing $15 million through the Veterans Affairs Canada and the province of British Columbia contributing another $15 million through its Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Sport. The remaining funds came from approximately 40 corporate partners and about $2.6 million in individual donations. Crucially, that public money didn't flow directly to the games. It was routed through the Vancouver Whistler Games Corporation, which then paid a licensing fee to the Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity that owns and licenses the games brand. The amount of that licensing fee was oddly redacted.
Psychological trauma and other service-related conditions can have serious effects and deserve understanding and respect. At the same time, critics continue raising questions about classifications and whether the competitions are designed in a way that provides a fair experience for everyone involved. It's the type of story people remember long after the details fade. Then there are the ongoing discussions surrounding attendance. Some critics have claimed that certain events appeared to attract relatively small crowds, with volunteers reportedly outnumbering spectators in some areas. Others questioned whether television coverage and camera positioning created a much busier impression than what some attendees reportedly witnessed in person.
Terry's, yes, I got to be careful with the keywords. He's been under fire because of his African Parks charity, which again, people have asked him to step down because of the rangers that are working the nonprofit organization in African parks have been accused of, SA and terrible things, torture in the Republic of the Congo. The indigenous rights charity Survival International alleged this week that wrongdoing by the parks was ongoing in the country and called on Prince Harry to resign as a member of the organization's board of directors. African Parks handles the long-term management of 24 protected natural areas in 13 of African countries in partnership with local governments. And the group was accused back in January 2024, which we reported on here, of funding these rangers who had committed human rights abuse, including...
According to several accounts, Harry and Meghan's appearances at certain events were also shorter than some expected. Critics describe moments that allegedly lasted only a few minutes. A quick wave, a brief photo opportunity, a short greeting for cameras, and then a rapid departure. Whether that criticism is justified or not, it remains another topic that keeps the debate alive and the conversation growing. And if you think the controversy stops there, the next stage pushes the discussion into even more sensitive territory.
Yeah, Australia has done a U-turn. They had previously cut funding for the Invictus Games, but now veteran backlash has forced them to bring it back. But I want to break this down because I'm not buying it, okay? Australian government has reversed its decision to cut funding for Prince Harry's Invictus Australia charity, with Veterans Affairs Minister Matt Keogh announcing that federal support will continue for another 3 years. As part of establishing the new veterans and families' well-being, we're transitioning funding for broader well-being support. Sounds wise. To the veteran community, to that new agency. As we transition, in order to maintain continuity and certainty of support services for our veteran community, we're providing another 3 years of funding to Invictus.
This time, attention reportedly shifts toward government funding and a series of uncomfortable questions that critics say can't be ignored. Australia has long been considered one of the strongest supporters of the Invictus Games. That's why reports claiming government backing was temporarily pulled generated such a strong reaction. The timing made the story even more dramatic because it reportedly occurred while Harry and Meghan were actively promoting support and excitement for the games themselves. Think about how that appears to the public. You're working to build excitement, encouraging people to get behind the project, and then reports surface that one of your key supporters is stepping back. That's exactly the kind of headline organizers hope to avoid at all costs.
The foundation publicly claims that 92% of every pound spent goes towards charitable activities, a figure that technically falls within UK Charity Commission guidelines. But the term charitable activities includes the cost of running the games themselves, not direct grants or services to veterans.
Now, some Australian commentators have noted that support was eventually restored, meaning the funding reportedly came back. But critics remain focused on the initial decision. Their argument is simple. If officials felt the need to pause support in the first place, what concerns led them to take that step? Governments rarely make funding decisions without careful consideration, especially when programs involving veterans are involved. That's why the conversation quickly grew beyond public image concerns and expanded into larger questions about accountability, spending priorities, and the long-term direction of the games. And according to critics, those same concerns may also help explain why attention has shifted toward corporate sponsors. Take Boeing, for instance.
Us, here in the UK, us taxpayer fools, are committing funds to this. I can't believe this. Paula reports the next Invictus Games are scheduled for Birmingham in 2027. The UK government has committed up to £26 million in public funds, despite the city effectively declaring bankruptcy in 2023. It only exited that status in February of this year. With roughly 15 months to go, Birmingham has just 11 unnamed sponsors contributing an estimated £4 million combined. Vancouver, by contrast, had Boeing and Atco as co-presenting sponsors and over 44 corporate partners. So basically, the British taxpayers are footing the bill because no corporates in the United Kingdom want to be involved with Prince Harry, as Dr. Sophie Chandoka of Centre Bali had previously made clear to him. Paula goes on. Meanwhile, as I reported last month, the organisation is in a bit of disarray and qualified candidates were refusing job offers with the Birmingham organising team after learning it was Invictus, citing the organisation's reputation.
The aerospace company was reportedly one of the major presenting sponsors of the Vancouver Games. Reports indicate that after its sponsorship agreement expired, the company chose not to renew it. Critics immediately pointed to that development as another possible warning sign. For many observers, Boeing's role carried additional weight because of its long history with military aviation and defense-related industries. That's why reports of its departure generated so much discussion. Critics started asking a direct question. If a company with strong ties to military communities decides not to continue its involvement...
Invictus Games for Wounded Warriors, which sounds like the Wounded Warrior Games. And people think, oh, this must be great. And a lot of people are unclear how to read a tax return or to check stats. And so I think it was just very easy to say, oh, the Invictus Games, it's great. It does all this. And then, you know, you start looking into it and you're like, hey, what the heck is going on here? You know, those 535 competitors had to pay their own way. They had to pay their own housing for the games. They had to pay for their own equipment.
What conclusions are people supposed to draw? That's when many observers began examining the sponsorship figures more closely. Reports suggest the Vancouver Games received support from more than 40 corporate partners. By comparison, Birmingham's upcoming event has reportedly secured around 11 sponsors, contributing an estimated £4 million in total. Critics argue that the smaller sponsor base has raised concerns about confidence, momentum, and future support for the Games. Then comes the issue that has sparked frustration among many British taxpayers.
Tom Bauer pointed out in his book during an absurd wheelchair basketball game, one team didn't even need wheelchairs while the other team did. It was America versus Nigeria. Nigeria needed the wheelchairs, and after the game, the Americans all stood up, got out of their wheelchairs, and walked off. It's absurd. But also, there was no one in attendance.
Reports indicate the UK government has committed up to £26 million in public funding for the Birmingham Games. Critics frequently compare that figure with Birmingham's well-publicized financial challenges in recent years, arguing that many residents are already worried about local spending, council budgets, and public services. That's where the argument becomes especially heated. Critics say that if private sector support appears limited, taxpayers should not be expected to absorb a greater share of the financial burden. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that the value of the Games extends beyond what can be measured through budgets, reports, and financial statements alone.
But I think with the Santa Bali thing, clearly Harry is tone deaf or too frightened to tell his wife that, look, you are the problem. We need to step back. You know, this has now just become a celebrity thing rather than looking at the true cause, which is to celebrate, honour, and really, you know, sort of inspire the veterans. I love them. I think they're, and I'm not just saying that, I genuinely think, wow, you know, when you're fed up, if you watch some of those poor people, and I don't mean poor in a nasty way, but, you know, what they've gone through, and they get up, you think, get on with it. If they can do it, you can. These people are inspirational. All the men and women of Invictus and all those services who have gone through terrible things, you truly are. Of course, it's been hijacked.
But according to reports, another challenge may have been emerging behind the scenes. Critics claim some experienced professionals were reluctant to apply for positions connected to the Birmingham operation because of the growing controversy and ongoing public debate surrounding the Invictus brand itself. That allegation has only added another layer to an already intense discussion. If those claims are accurate, they create a major reputational problem.
Really was the fact, again, that this is, I think, where Harry is struggling. I think he felt that his presence just turning up, and this has been the problem almost now with Invictus for the last few years, that, you know, Markle turning up in Canada, rushing in at the last minute saying, oh, you know, I've been busy doing packed lunches. It's just focus about them. You know, I think people are fed up with the way that it's looking in Invictus, and I know this talking to some senior people there, you know, they're just thinking, well, where has this gone wrong?
Financial pressure is one challenge. Having people reportedly question whether they want to be connected to the project at all is a completely different issue. And for critics, that's where the conversation starts expanding far beyond Invictus. They point to other organizations that encountered public difficulties during periods when Prince Harry was associated with them. Santa Bale, the charity he co-founded in memory of his mother, became the subject of widely reported disagreements, leadership conflicts, legal disputes, and resignations that attracted major media attention. African Parks has also faced controversy following allegations and concerns that received significant coverage. Critics have questioned Harry's public response and level of involvement regarding those matters, while supporters argue the circumstances are far more complex than critics often acknowledge. No matter which side people take, critics say they see a recurring trend. They point to initiatives that begin with strong public support but later become overshadowed by internal disputes, leadership disagreements, resignations, or ongoing controversy.
Meghan and Harry, as you know, put out this thing earlier this year, basically saying they'd like His Majesty the King, the Royals, etc., Invictus, Birmingham. And recently they put out something about some sponsor and all of that, you know, because it's flagging, let's be honest. Invictus, Birmingham, you know, I wish them all the best, I genuinely do, but, you know, this country right now, we're just running out of money at the rate of knots. And it's all down to the government, whichever way you want to say it. It's down to bad spending and bad chancellorship, which is Rachel.
That's why many observers no longer view the scrutiny surrounding Invictus as being about just one event. In their view, it has become part of a much larger discussion that continues gaining momentum. Even recognition and awards connected to Harry have become part of the wider debate. When Prince Harry reportedly received the Pat Tillman Award, named after former NFL player and soldier Pat Tillman, reactions came fast. Supporters praised his contributions to veterans' causes, while critics strongly objected, arguing that the honor should have gone to someone else. The discussion quickly spread across social media, comment sections, and online forums. Some critics argued Harry was receiving recognition largely because of his public profile rather than direct involvement in day-to-day operations. Their position wasn't necessarily that he performed poorly. Instead, they questioned how much of the everyday work he personally handled behind the scenes. Others pushed back against those claims, arguing that Invictus may never have achieved its current international profile without Harry's support and visibility. But regardless of where people stood, the award became yet another major battleground in an already heated public conversation. And according to ongoing reports and commentary, that growing level of scrutiny may be one reason difficult questions are reportedly being discussed behind palace doors as well. Reports have suggested that Prince William and individuals connected to the Royal Foundation place significant importance on transparency and accountability. Critics claim the message is simple: show the financial details, explain where the money is going, and answer the concerns being raised. Whether those reports are accurate or not, they continue driving speculation about the relationship between the monarchy and the games. Some commentators have even suggested that the reported absence of senior royal...
The failure of As Ever is simply impossible to ignore, and more people are picking up on this. Because Meghan Markle made such a fuss about her business, because she had to go endlessly on and prattle on about how great As Ever was doing, how it sold out its first couple of launches, of course that brings a lot of attention to the brand. And as the brand continues to flatline, it's bringing a lot of attention to that as well. And Jack Royston of Newsweek has revealed something rather interesting. However, I feel like he's missing sort of the bigger issue, because he sees a somewhat causation between the decline in Meghan Markle's popularity and the decline in website traffic and likely sales to her brand. But I actually think her popularity probably doesn't have a huge impact on what's happening with As Ever. It has more to do with simply bad business practice.
Spoils from future events may be less about personal disagreements and more about avoiding connections to continuing controversy. At least, that's the theory critics keep discussing and debating. But the spotlight doesn't stop with Harry. According to critics, Meghan's public image and business projects have also become part of the growing debate. During visits to Australia, including appearances connected to communities recovering from tragedy and meetings with hospital patients, some critics later claimed she benefited from the publicity when clothing she wore became associated with online promotion and increased public interest. Supporters argue that's a common reality for many well-known public figures. Critics, however, viewed the situation very differently, and the discussion gained traction because of the emotional nature of those events. Meanwhile, Meghan's lifestyle brand has become a major topic of online conversation. Critics have claimed certain product launches fell short of expectations, while some items seem to generate more buzz than actual consumer demand. Among the products most frequently discussed were candles and other home-related goods that sparked intense debate across social media platforms.
A new chocolates for Mother's Day, new candle scents for Mother's Day, and now matches. Guys, popularity is not the problem. It's her complete and utter inability to come up with new products. That's the problem. I would not, if I was advising Meghan, I would not go, oh, honey, if you could just be more popular, your products will sell. That's not the problem. Popular people launch brands that fail all the time. Don't think about the popularity. That's actually not the make it or break it here. It's the products in the brand. I'm telling you right now, if Meghan Markle created gangbuster products, her likability would not matter in selling. The products are bad. And when the products are bad, guess what? You can't move them. And the best you can do is ship a box of your products to one of your biggest fans who craps on the Royals all the time and count that as a win. That's lame. That's really.
Some critics pointed to reports of high price tags, while others raised concerns about product quality after customer complaints surfaced online. Whether those criticisms are justified or not, the discussions quickly became woven into the larger narrative surrounding the brand. There was also debate surrounding branding choices connected to family themes and personal milestones. Critics argued that some marketing decisions felt overly personal, while supporters saw them as harmless ways to make products feel more relatable and meaningful. Like many aspects of this story, opinions remain sharply divided. Another incident that attracted attention involved reports that a gift package was sent to a supporter who had previously shared criticism of Prince William and Princess Catherine online. Critics quickly highlighted the story, arguing it reflected negatively on Meghan's public image. Supporters, meanwhile, questioned whether the significance of the incident was being overstated. And that's where many commentators believe the larger issue starts to take shape. According to some critics, Harry remains fully committed to the mission behind Invictus and genuinely cares about the people it serves. They argue that many of the strongest complaints emerge when public attention shifts away from veterans and towards celebrity-driven headlines. Whether that's a fair assessment depends on perspective, but it's a point that continues resurfacing whenever discussions about the future of the games begin, and the theory gaining traction among critics is a difficult one. They argue Harry either doesn't fully appreciate the scale of the concerns being raised, or he's reluctant to address them directly and say, "We need to step back." That's why one particular suggestion keeps appearing over and over again. Then, there's what some commentators claim is being discussed behind the scenes. According to ongoing reports and commentary, concerns reportedly exist that the immediate priority is simply ensuring Birmingham goes ahead successfully. Some accounts suggest people connected to the organization want to focus on delivering the games first and address the bigger questions afterward. So look at where things stand today. The petition continues gaining attention. Senior royals are reportedly staying away. Boeing reportedly chose not to continue its sponsorship. Questions keep surfacing about government funding, corporate backing, financial transparency, and the long-term future of the games. Critics argue the one decision that could dramatically change the conversation may also be the hardest decision to make. No matter what happens next, Harry is still expected to be front and center in Birmingham, because according to many observers, choosing not to appear simply isn't realistic. The real question isn't whether Harry arrives in Birmingham this summer. The real question is, what kind of future will be waiting for the Invictus Games when he does? And don't forget to subscribe to Hollywood Yesterday for more royal news, controversy, and updates. There's brand new video every single day.